So Cecilia, I think one of the most amazing things about this movie is that you're there with Greta on like day one, right? And just talk to me about that process. How did you and the director Nathan meet her? What was the backstory on that? Because you just have Greta's turned into this like global phenomenon, and you're there from the very, very beginning.
Yeah, I mean that was, I guess, it's very rare when it's in filmmaking to stumble upon such a rare story before it even unfolds. But in fact, this is what happened, and it's really a strike of luck. As a friend of the director Nathan, who also knows Greta's family, he said that this young girl is doing this thing. She's going to go school strike. On Friday, and you should go and check her out. So Nathan took his camera and went there on his bicycle and started to film on the very first day. He asked if he could film her, and she said yes. And of course, at that point, he didn't know what it would turn into, or we didn't know what it would turn into. So he just kept filming, and we just noticed that there was something very peculiar and very special about this brave girl. But yeah, we thought it would be a short, so we funded it
Oh
for
yeah.
a short first, and
Mm-hmm.
then of course it all sort of took off and exploded a few weeks later. And that's when we decided that Nathan should continue and follow Greta for as much as he could, through trains and electrical vehicles through Europe, through all their journeys.
What was that turning point? Was it one of when her first big talk went viral, or?
Yes, I would say it was in Katowice, so at the UN talks in Poland in the winter of 2018. That's when her speeches really went viral.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And what was it about her that drew you and Nathan to filming her? Obviously, we see this like global persona. We see her doing these powerful talks, but getting access to her and these intimate moments, was there something that you feel like the public hasn't seen, or what's your biggest takeaway about what makes her so special?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think I mean, from right away, she was portrayed in a very specific way in media as this very sort of stern young girl with a big conscience and with very critical to what this world leaders are doing. And in fact, she is so much more. Of course, she is she's very funny. She has a great sense of humor. She describes herself as being a nerd, and being totally into the she said that she imagined her future before all this happened, like spending time in a black room doing science, basically.
Wow.
So and I think we've managed to capture some more parts of her personality than what is available out there in media. um, and I think I'm happy about that, because she's
Yeah.
really very special in many ways, but she's also a teenager, and I think that's I think one of the points of the film is to make people and kids and teenagers be able to relate more to her and not see her as this almost Jesus-like figure that's
Right.
that has this mission, but she's actually just like everybody else. She doesn't what to, she asks herself what to wear, and she you know what should she eat for lunch, and all those questions that we all deal with, that she also deals with. So she's very human, of course, and I think
Right.
that was important to show as well.
Right. Do you ever do you ever wish that she could just have a normal life? Like it, I'm just curious because you've seen this transition in her life, but
Yeah, and of course, and that's also, I mean, that's a bit double as a filmmaker, because we are also, of course, a part of not we're a part of continuing to document her and
right.
not leave her alone. But she herself has said that she wishes that the film, or media in general, would not have to focus so much on her as a 17-year-old activist, but to talk more about the issue, the actual climate question. But she realizes that for some reason this is her story has been a great way to wake people up and to make people start talking about this issue. And so for that reason she has sort of I guess sacrificed herself a little bit, because she doesn't want to be in this limelight at all. I mean, she wants to be with her dogs at home and be in school.
And the horses. And
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's back in school now this year, so I guess that's a one step in the right direction. But still, she's doing also some media for the film, and so which we're thankful for. But
I can only imagine what that classroom is like with her coming back now as like a global celebrity. I'm curious.
I'm sure they're nervous about teaching her, perhaps.
Really? That's funny. Yeah, you can't misspeak about climate science or you'll get called out.
Yeah.
I'm curious, as a documentary filmmaker, it always takes there's a challenge at times in building trust with your subjects and kind of that relationship. And I think the film so beautifully portrays these intimate moments with her, as you were talking about, which just are amazing to see. As you were saying, like, it is so different from this kind of media perception that we have of her. But can you fill me in a little bit on that process of building trust with her? Were there any challenges ever, or were there tensions around did she want the camera there or not, or did it become overwhelming? Was the film team ever an overwhelming presence for them?
I think they were quite open from the beginning. I mean, we had to get also the Svante and Marlene's approval to film, of course, Greta's parents. So they sort of said yes from the beginning. Then they were quite open, for giving access and for Nathan to be able to go with them, following very close by. But of course,
usually just Nathan shooting by himself, or was there? Okay, so
yes,
solo.
That was part of. First, it was a pure budget reason. Like, we didn't have the funds for hiring anybody else. And that's what she called that out actually at the press conference in Venice, saying that she was a bit worried about the professionalism of the crew, because it was only Nathan and nobody else.
Right.
But
I can relate to that.
Yeah,
I've been there.
Where's the sound guy? But then it turned out that it really created a very intimate bubble, sort of, between Nathan and Svante and Greta, that was very precious for the film, I think.
Right.
So. So it turned out to be a good thing, but yeah, no, of course, they never, they really thought that they would have wanted more footage to be included in the film of everything that was shot. So they were a bit like, so where is this scene? Where is this scene? Right. So they were more about adding more scenes in the edit rather than taking away, and rather than not really. I mean, of course, they had limitations of. I mean, we didn't have like full access to their home and everything, of course, because also Greta is a minor, and we also need to take, to respect that. So
yeah, I'm curious. Obviously, Greta is living her values, with the most extreme example being not getting on a plane to go to the United States. And she's traveling, it seems, by all public transportation or by electric vehicles. What was that like for the production side? Because now were you trying to fit and mold your team around that? I mean, if it was just Nathan, it seems like relatively easy to tag him along, but did that create unexpected challenges for you in the production around trying to work with or around her?
Yeah, I mean, we decided from early on to not use any fossil fuels in the actual filmmaking. So which means that Nathan in this case had to go with Greta and Svante in the cars or the trains, and instead of and that of course was a challenge because everything takes like a week, instead of flying to Italy to film Greta for 2 hours or whatever, and then go back. It takes a week, to take the train all the way to Italy and back, and so it added much more time in the production process. And also we did a few trials of hiring photographers locally instead of flying Nathan there. Also, so as to not use any travel by fossil means. But yeah, so that was something we decided early on. But a big challenge was, of course, to decide that Nathan should, do the rather dangerous thing of going on the boat trip over the Atlantic, because you're not supposed to go by sail a boat in in the summertime that direction. Nobody does that. So
oh wait, fill me in. I didn't know this part. There was a risky time to travel that way.
Yeah, that's why it was almost impossible to get a boat, even because that route is ridden by storms during the summer months, so you're not supposed to go. But obviously Greta had to go at that point because the UN speech was coming up, and also all the other alternatives, like cargo ships, for example, they use even more fuel, so it's not an option. But luckily the Prince of Monaco offered to help with this competition boat,
a racing boat, right?
Racing boat, yeah. So that turned out a good solution, but they were of course very trained skippers, the two skippers. But yeah, it's not obvious because it was a lot of risk involved, and Nathan was we were all very scared, to be honest.
Right.
So
yeah.
But it turned out well, so luckily.
And it's some incredibly powerful footage in the film too, with Greta's sort of like personal processing. I'm curious if you can fill us in on that. Obviously, with Nathan on the boat, and then trying to film these moments, and it's sort of this breakdown that she goes through. Was that the only time you'd seen that in any of the footage, or in the time with her? Was it like the physical, just the chaos of this physical trip that you feel like made her break down in that moment? Just curious your thoughts on that moment.
Yes, I mean that was a really important moment for us, and when we saw the footage, Nathan hadn't even registered that he had filmed it, that it was so powerful. So it was very powerful to see it when we saw the dailies after. Yeah, I think of course it was the strain of that of the boat trip that made her crack, in lack of better words, I guess. And because she's otherwise pretty contained, and as a person, and which I guess in a cynical way, as a filmmaker, you're always looking for those moments of emotion and expression, and she also has Asperger's syndrome, which is which makes her not express feelings in ways that others perhaps do. So it was extremely important to get this moment with her when she opens up for Nathan. I think that what she did, she really felt very powerfully that she should not have to bear all this burden.
Yeah.
And I think she wanted to share that with Nathan and with the world in a way.
Yeah. It's fascinating that Nathan didn't register. I mean, because he's equally going through that physical barrage on the boat. You said daily. Was he sending footage back every day?
Not every day. Not from the boat, but
okay, from afterwards.
It was impossible to.
I was like, that's an amazing satellite connection then, because that's like like fill me in on that. No.
No, it got to the US. Yeah.
Yeah, got it. What is so? Greta's back in school now, you said. How has her life changed from this experience, or where is she now? I mean, she's continuing to study, but what pressures does she have on herself, or what do you feel like her trajectory is right now?
Well, she has decided to continue the school strike every Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So she's not stepping down from that, and she's still
And schools there are open in person right now, or just
in
because I know
Sweden. Yes.
COVID's very different in Sweden than it
Yeah,
is here, right, in
yeah,
the
yeah.
US?
So she goes there all other days than Fridays. But yeah, no, she I mean, she doesn't back down, and she's still very involved in the movement, of course, and she's also has this foundation now where that she uses for um, giving money to different environmental projects, and I think that's quite powerful, actually. It's except that that gives money to very important projects. It also,
Great.
creates media attention around them. So
Right.
that's an extension of her work that I think will be very important. But yeah, I mean, she's still hugely recognized in the media. So whenever something happens around her, then that directs a huge amount of attention to the issue. So I think she's still gonna be trying to create as much awareness as possible, because these are extremely important days and weeks and months where we can start really acting and demanding change from leaders. So she realizes that, and continues to do all she can.
Yeah. I'm curious. Obviously, I think a lot of young people are going to be watching the film. And what is your hope or your message for the youth out there? Many of whom who are fighting for climate justice, who are getting more and more involved. What is your message for young people out there as they see the film?
Well, I hope they will get inspired to see that really anybody can make a big difference, and just by seeing that by engaging in something, also it can be very valuable, not only for society but also for yourself. As in Greta's case, it shows that she actually sort of cured herself from her depression that she had a few years earlier. So to engage in something as important as climate can also be giving a lot of peace of mind and a direction that I think young people in general need, and also me. So yeah, I think just continue to fight, and because there has really been an unprecedented activism within youth these last couple of months and years, with Black Lives Matter and all these different societal issues, and it's just I would just rather than me talking to them, I'm just so impressed that they have been making their voices heard in such a powerful way, and I just wish they can continue to do so, and hopefully continue to be inspired by Greta and all the other youth activists out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we covered a bunch of bases. I don't know if there's anything else that you wanted to share, or any closing thoughts?
Well, no, I guess no, not really. No, not that I can think of. Unless no.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we could just wrap it there. Cecilia, just thank you so much for making this film. It's such a beautiful, beautiful portrait. And it's just thrilled that the Denver Film Festival can share it, and eager for the world to see it. So thank you for what you've made.
Thank you, and it's we're thrilled to have the film be screened in Denver. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully you'll enjoy the film.
Absolutely.